Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Very good. Back for another episode, and today we're going to catch up with a guy by the name of Nick Owen, and he has the most incredible life story ever.
It's going to blow your mind, but we do need to put in a trigger warning going into this episode.
Yeah, look, it's going to get pretty dark, it's going to get pretty deep, and apart from that, there is an absolute bucket load of swearing.
The Brown Podcast.
Now, you got up to lots of shit in your childhood, didn't you? You were a fairly messy young man.
I was a rambunctious little child, yes. Well, a rambunctious teenager, yes.
See, I was a goody two-shoes. I did nothing wrong ever, whereas you were...
I did a lot of...
Always in the wrong?
Not always in the wrong, but I had reckless abandon for consequences of my actions.
Care to share any of them?
Not in a public forum, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
So let's give a quick intro to our guest today. His name is Nick Owen. He's been in the military.
He's done 2 tours of duty.
As a bomb retrieval.
Combat engineer is what they label his position. He's lived a colourful life, to say the least.
He has done and seen things that you and I will never do and or see. And let's just get him on and let him tell his story. Nick Owen, hello.
How you doing, mate?
Mate, thank you very much for joining us.
Not a drama, my pleasure.
Mate.
You've had a life.
I have. I've had probably enough for about 3 people. Everyone's always told me since I was like 14, or even at 14, dude, you should write a fucking book, man. You should write a fucking book. Definitely got a few stories.
Okay, so what did you get up to at 14? I was talking about your adult life.
Oh, man. Ever since day one, it's always been chaotic, but I like it.
So tell us a bit about yourself. So you've served in the armed forces?
Sure have, mate. Sure have. 10 years.
10 years.
10 years I did. I was a combat engineer.
And what's a combat engineer?
It's pretty broad and diverse, man. Like a whole spectrum of different jobs, but one of the main focuses over the last period of years has been obviously Afghanistan. So my job's been IEDs, landmines, booby traps, weapon caches, all that sort of stuff. So high research, basically.
So do you actually go out and lay the traps, or do you go
No,
and
we
search
find
for
them.
it?
We find them, yeah. Australia don't set traps and mines and that.
So you actually have to go out and try. How do you find stuff in the ground? Or is it just like you put your foot on the ground and go, click. Barry,
almost,
that didn't work, mate.
Almost. Man, there's a lot of photos of guys that have been walking along on patrol, look down, and right next to their boots, a switch for any tank mine.
Oh, my God.
Literally right next to their shoe. So basically what it entails, as a search commander, so I work in generally a team of myself plus another 3.
Yeah.
So I have 2 men out in front with mine labs, so metal detectors, detecting any kind of foreign objects in the ground. So we have metal detectors and we have GPR, so ground penetrating radar, which will pick up any air voids, like voids in the ground,
like
so
air
where
pockets or
something
something.
could be stashed.
Yep.
So basically we set them out, staggered up in front. I'll stand behind, control the search, and I have a guy behind me who's acts as security and also carries a thing called an ECM, which is electronic communications jammer for anyone that's using remote controls for the bombs and shit like that. And we basically just walk down the road, and just with the training, so you work on a threat triad, so aim, type, location. So overseas, when you look at the Taliban, and it's like, okay, well, in this area, so their main use of weapons over there is IEDs. So an IED is something in which it's an improvised explosive device, which is something they bury in the ground for us to either step on, be triggered with a remote control, sometimes like a string, so they use a pull method. Man, I could talk about this shit for ages. I love this shit, and there's so many different types of the ways they fashion these IEDs out of.
Are they professional, or are they just sort of...
Man, so these guys are kicking around in fucking rags and shit. Like, it looks biblical as fuck over there.
Yeah.
But their level of knowledge in this, like, Afghanistan's been at war for fucking ever.
Yeah.
So some of the stuff that they produce, that they make themselves, is incredibly intelligent and incredibly well done. And like, they've got IDs out there that are no metal content, so they know what we do. They know our tactics. They know we use a metal detector. So they will get a piece of a tree trunk, and they cut it out. We'll say as long as, we'll just say a Coke can.
Yeah.
And they cut a third of that off, and they'll drill a hole down into the center, and then one from the bottom. So the detonation cord slides into the bottom, and then they put a chemical in there, and then they create a plunger type thing.
Yeah.
And they use a piece of foam as a spacer, and they bury that in the ground. So that when we're going over with our mine lab, we can't find it. We have to look for the ground sign and understand the threat in that area. So what's their aim, what type, what location would it be, and just be very thorough. So you got to learn with your eyes and understand what the ground looks like, what it looks like disturbed. And then when you step on this motherfucker, man, it pushes the timber down, it creates friction, which ignites that chemical, sets the deck cord off.
Boom.
And then you've got 20 kilos of homemade explosive underneath you.
So what does that do for your nerves? Like, are you on edge that whole time, or because your training kicks in, you're okay with it?
So a bit of both. Because you're trained, you're confident, right? But everything that we do here is you're safe. So when you actually put your boots on the ground, you've done, and our selection process to go and our testing regime is fucking intense, man. Like it is high pressure, high paced, and very, very thorough. So you know you were trained for it, but once your boots are on the ground, you're fucking scared. Yeah, 100%. I'd say the first month of my deployment, I was scared shitless.
Yeah.
Every day you left, you know, they're trying to kill you. You know how you start questioning your ability. You're like, fuck, am I good enough for this? Like, I've got these men here that are relying on me to get them home. Like, fuck, can I do it? Am I good enough to do it? And in your mind, you think, well, I passed everything, but you're still always doubting yourself that little bit. But then after a month, man, you become, if you like it, I loved it.
Yeah.
You become a bit of a fucking animal.
Yeah.
Like you get used to it, man. Like you can be chilling out and you got fucking AKs and shit going off.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, fuck, here we go. Like we're at work. You know what I mean? And that's the scary part. And I think that's where a lot of the issues when we come home, I think that is where it comes from, because you can spend, 10 years training for this. And then when you leave, you're just back in the supermarket. And a week before, you're digging up IEDs, getting shot at with machine guns, and now you're back in the supermarket. So they spend all this time training you to be this certain person and then spend no fucking time on
helping
teaching you
not to be that person.
That's right, and how to manage that. And I think that's where a lot of the issues with war veterans and stuff, a lot of that comes from that.
So did you suffer from that coming back?
Yeah, man, really bad. Really bad. And it's one of those things, like even a lot of people that get, say, just your standard depression, you kind of suffer through that for a long time before you actually realise what the fuck's going on, because you normally just think, fuck, man, why do I feel like this? Like, say, for instance, anxiety. Because overseas we had, as an engineer, so as a search commander, if we were going down the road and there was a Coke can on the side of the road, just kind of looked out of the normal. Yeah. To me, that's a danger sign. It's like, why the fuck is that there?
Yeah.
So then you get that feeling that you get, that kind of anxiety feeling where you're like, fuck, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Like, what's happening? And you're scanning all your surroundings, you're looking at the ground, trying to find out whether this is a high threat area.
Just from a Coke can?
Yeah, man, because it can be a marker, so that that motherfucker's sitting over there on the dunes, and when you walk past there, he lines you up that when you get to there, boom, he knows when to push it. So when you first come home, even to seeing those things, like if I saw, like there was one time I was taking my kids somewhere down by the creek and there was an esky that somebody had left by. Yeah. And it just scared the shit out of me. Like it gives you this like, fuck. And then you got to constantly play over, dude, you're at home. Yeah. Like it's over.
So what do you do in that situation? Do you go and check it out, or do you do a dive roll for the bushes, or
no,
do you,
man,
not to make light of the situation, but you know what I mean?
Well, I guess in my mind, because I loved my job so much. So in my mind, I'd like play through what I would do if I was in Afghanistan. But then it just takes a lot of self-work, like a lot of internal work to be able to become somewhat, I hate the fucking word normal, but somewhat normal again, and not let those things bother you. So it's like you just got to face that shit and talk to yourself and be like, dude, stop it. It's fine. Yeah. Don't let it ruin your day. Don't let this put you off, yada, yada,
And I don't mean to make light of the situation at all, but like if a Coke can is a marker, how do you walk down the soft drink aisle of Woolies without having flashbacks?
No, man. Like, so
that's what really kicks in.
It's a 30-pack, Jesus!
No, it's not quite like that. So for us, it's like absence of the normal, presence of the abnormal. So anything just kind of looks out of place. Yeah. That's where you got to pay close attention to that sort of shit.
And then how... when you got back, did you get help or how did you start working through, I guess, the PTSD that you were suffering?
Yeah.
How did you work through it?
Okay, man. So for me to even realize it was happening, I just noticed I was just doing heaps of shit that is not like me. Like I built myself to a pretty, in my eyes, like a pretty respectable standard, man. Like I kind of took care of things. I took care of myself. I had my mostly my emotional bullshit in check, all this stuff. And then when I come back, I started to snap really easy. Like I was fucking real aggressive. Everything would just piss me off all the time. I couldn't sleep. I just felt shit all the time. And then things like anxiety, like that's a horrible feeling. A lot of people have it, super common. But for me, I had that for ages before I didn't even know what the fuck it was. Yeah. I've had panic attacks and shit, like in the shop thinking I'm going to die. It's like in the corner of Kmart, like just trying to control my breathing because I thought I was having a fucking heart attack, which is something a lot of people have had.
What section of Kmart?
I was actually in the kids' clothes section, yeah.
Because you've got to try and make light of these situations again a little bit because you sit there
if you don't laugh about this sort of shit, you cry, bro. And it's one of the best things about military life too. Whenever anything fucked happens, you just make a joke out of it and then it's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when all that sort of shit, like I ended up splitting up with my partner I had at the time, who's my youngest son's mum, just because I was just chaotic. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like we're just fighting all the time and I couldn't handle nothing. Road rage, like all that sort of shit. And I just didn't have any feelings.
Did you find yourself in a situation where you'd cross the line with somebody else, like you got into a fight or anything like that? Does it get to that point?
Yeah, 100%. So you, like, especially as a lot of us do, when you have pain or you have trauma, we run from it and we run to vices, things like alcohol, drugs, which is the worst fucking thing that anyone can do, which I did for quite a long time. And I've done it in several different phases of my life when I've gone through shit. Yeah. Whereas in this time, like now, the last lot of chaotic shit I've had, I didn't do it, and it helps so fucking much to actually be present in the pain and not run from it and just get fucking hammered because it's only a temporary fix. So obviously, nights out on the piss generally ended up with punch-ons and shit like that. Yeah. And then you like. Because deep down, like I used to like doing that sort of stuff. Like I used to like going out fighting and shit. I was a bit of a fuckwit kid. But as you get older and mature more, like I would literally reflect on it the next day and just feel like a fucking idiot. And then the depression kind of sinks in even more, and it
start
goes
hating
through.
yourself.
That ugly feeling when you wake up in the morning. That's
man. Yeah, and I started to dislike my job and snap back at rank and that, and didn't hold my position. I kind of didn't respect anybody. I was just kind of fucking losing it, and it was just really slow. And I realized that I wasn't my normal self, but I just thought this was just me, my personality. Like I'm fucked. I don't know what's happening. I didn't even think PTSD, depression, anything. I ended up taking a break from the military for about 8 months. I took leave without pay.
Yep.
Thinking that maybe it's just a job and I've just fucking had enough.
So do they not have help for you? Or no?
So they do, but in the military, there's a big culture. If you go to psych, you're a fucking bitch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man. It's not so much anymore. I think it is changing, but if any of the guys had a mental problem and got discharged for it, all the boys would be back there. What a fucking pussy. Yeah, he's full of shit. Yeah, that guy done fuck all anyway, yada, yada. So there's a pretty bad culture in there for that, because it's just that old school, man the fuck up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is what you guys are doing here, and what is happening a lot more awareness around the fuck that is fucking bullshit, man. Yeah. That is a dangerous fucking thing. Dangerous attitude to have, to just go fuck man up, I'll deal with it.
Yeah.
So they do have the help. I took that break and I thought maybe it was just work. But then when I took that break from the army, all I thought about was war. War. Everywhere I was, like I was thinking about it all the time. In the army, I'm like, fuck, I want to go back. And I went back there and still nothing changed, man. I could even watch my own mother cry and I just almost want to slap her. Like I had no fucking emotion, man, like nothing. Everyone just pissed me off. And especially when you go and do things like what we did, everyone else's problems are minuscule.
Yeah.
But you've got to put that in comparison. Now that I've gone through that, I understand, man, my pain and your pain, it's the fucking same, regardless of what it is and what causes it. It's the same thing.
Your pain could lose a leg or a life.
Yeah, well, that's where you get the pain from. So
my pain might drop a beer and
I stubbed my toe.
Yeah, I know, right?
So it's all the same, man. But at the time, you don't really acknowledge that. You kind of just think, man, fuck you, you're whinging about this. Like one of my mates just lost both his fucking legs, and we lost those other 2 guys, and we lost this and did that.
So you lost mates over there?
Yeah, man, yeah.
On your watch?
No.
That's
Thank fucking God, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Some guys I've been friends with a long time are doing the same job as me. Majority of the deaths that we had overseas were from engineers.
Right.
It was a tough gig, man, but I tell you, majority of them I lost is now after.
Yeah.
I've lost heaps.
And that's what I was going to
Fucking
ask. Do you know what the suicide rate is from these guys returning from
It's
war?
constantly changing, and there's always things people trying to do stuff for it, but it's never going to work unless the higher people fucking do something.
Yeah.
You know, like on your exits from and once we leave, if you're medically discharged, we are looked after pretty well. We really are. We do have like resources there that they pay for. Psychiatrists, psychologists, doctors, all your physical stuff as well, your physios, OTs. Like we do have all that there, but sometimes it's not quite enough.
Yeah.
Because the guys are stuck in that rut where they're running from their pain, drinking, and then enough's enough, and you're not obviously not making clear decisions in your mind, and off they go.
Yeah.
But we've lost way too many, man. Way fucking too many.
Now let's go from that to when you came back. And so what did you do once you left the army?
So once I took that break and went back,
Yeah.
it was pretty evident that my actual doctor, the army doctor, and my RSM said to me, dude, you need to get fucking help.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck off. But then once I spoke to somebody and told them the things like about my lack of emotion, me not sleeping, these are all like pretty huge indicators that something's wrong. And they did a really good job of, because I just wanted to leave, but they medically discharged me. And that, to start with, that's really rough. I've pretty much become an alcoholic for a while. Again, something that I just didn't really know was happening. I still get up real early, go for a surf, go to the gym, and then at night just fucking get hammered.
Get it?
I
Yeah.
just do it all the time.
Well, that's depression as well. Like I've suffered from depression, and drinking just takes the edge off.
It does.
For that moment.
For that moment,
yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
One of the I've been out of the army now for 4 years.
Yeah.
Over the last, I'd say, year and a half, I've done a fuckload of internal work. And then when I look back at how I reacted to all these feelings and stuff, you can really see the error in it. And alcohol and drugs, man, that is the biggest one that will fuck you up. If you're not well, stay the fuck away from drinking. I couldn't. I've almost took my own life twice, and both times was blind fucking drunk.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to. I just thought of something. I wanted to backtrack because while you're in the army, you were working for the army here as well in Brisbane, weren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we do operations overseas, but we also do ones in country as well.
Yeah.
So any kind of even things as small as like when the Commonwealth Games comes on, we'll go out and search all the buildings and the stadiums and all that sort of stuff for any terrorist bullshit or whatever. Then also you have natural disasters like the fires and the floods and stuff like that. And I work pretty heavily with the Queensland Flood Assist, which I believe was 2012, some shit like that.
Sounds about right, I think it was,
Yeah. So we were tasked out to the Lockyer Valley, Grantham. It's called.
Yeah, that was pretty hectic.
Bro,
at the
man.
time.
When we rolled into that town, it was it's like the set of a movie, and it was fucking weird. So you're cruising through the main street. Obviously, they do a fair bit of farming and stuff. There's fucking watermelons everywhere.
Yeah.
There's like a boat in the middle of somebody's farm thing, a plane up on the rail tracks. Yeah. It's just absolute chaos in there, man. It's a big eye opener to see what people actually go through when shit is like that.
Flood comes in.
So we were tasked with the body retrieval because basically we'd gotten a few days in, and obviously with the size of the floods and the heat and everything at that time, they were pretty confident that whoever was missing was not going to be found. So we were still searching, still never give up hope, but the main thing was body retrieval. Yeah.
How did that go? I mean, how does that...
Like after everything you've seen.
Like it's a different war at home, isn't it?
Yeah, man, 100%. Well, so this is one, everybody has their own wars, man, you know what I mean? So, and this is the thing that people often say to me with a lot of the stuff that I've done, and they're just like, man, how the fuck? It's like, dude, what I've done and what you've done are no different, man. We all have our same wars and stuff. I was just more conditioned to handle it. And I still enjoyed it, and I don't regret a single fucking day of my time in the military, even the real horrible shit, because the horrible stuff's helping someone else. When we did the body retrieval, it's probably some of the grossest shit that I've ever seen. Like even through war, like seeing people get shot and suicide bombers and all that crap. What we see here, that was by far worse, man, because these are our people.
Yeah.
You know, so even we had a guy, and this will also touch on making light of a bad situation and how it helps. So we had a guy who was located who apparently was sitting in a bar, man, just having a beer in the afternoon when that wall of water comes through and washed the motherfucker out of the building and out into this field. And we saw him out there, and he was a big guy, man. It's bloated, waterlogged, been out there in the hot sun, and literally his body's decaying, like decomposing. And we had to get him from – they were worried about the dam above him bursting.
Right.
And breaking through. So we had to go and assist the Queensland Police to get his body out.
Because the bodies, like, just to pause for a second, the bodies can cause infection in the water and everything else.
Oh, all kinds of shit, man. And it's also like at the end of the day, that's somebody's son that's out there, you know, and you don't want him sitting out there like that.
Yeah.
So to try and get them back and let the family go through the process they need to is probably the most important thing. But trying to get him out was really difficult. You know, the mud was coming out to your knees, and a human body in general, when it's dead,
it's heavy.
It's fucking heavy and really awkward, and let alone waterlogged, and he's a big guy anyway. So we had to try and drag him out, utilising whatever we could find around. I think I had a Hannah Montana foam bodyboard that I found, man, to try and get him on. And,
wow.
Man, so we ended up, and that obviously didn't work, so we had to find a spinal board, used a spinal board and some rope, pulled him across, and his legs and everything kept falling off the board, and I kept pushing him back on, and then I did go to put his leg back on to the board with my hands, and as I did, all the flesh from his feet came off and was stuck in between my fucking fingers, and I was like shaking his fucking body stuff off.
Trying not to vomit right now. Thank you very much.
Man. And the smell of decomposing flesh. And
he has the weakest stomach of anybody I know.
This poor guy had maggots eating his balls and his eyes.
Block your ears for a second.
Man, it is a real rough thing, man, that sort of stuff. And to think that this guy was just sitting there having a beer, you know, and so to make light of those situations, man, so in the military, everyone knows you by your last name. My last name is Owen. So everyone knew me as Owie. Yeah. And because this guy's feet come off in my hands, my new nickname from then on was Toey Owie. You know, like soon as we get in there, we're all just kind of looking at each other after the task was completed, and we got him in a bag and backloaded out. We just all kind of like looking at each other, and they're like, dude, you fucking know that guy's toes. And it's like, Toey Owie.
My God.
But if you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Yeah.
How do you unsee something like that, or you just don't? It just lives with you. You just learn to cope with it, because the way you were describing that, then I could see you were there.
Yeah, man. Yeah. To be honest, bro, it doesn't bother me. Yeah. And this is why I said, like, I don't think anything in this life happens to you. I think it happens for you.
Yeah.
And I think that I've done all the shit that I've done in order for me to grow enough to be where I'm at now, to help people who aren't where I'm at yet.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
So like none of that stuff, it honestly doesn't bother me. Yeah. And at times, like I clearly do have nightmares and shit. Like my missus, I've woken up, she's like on top of me, holding me down, I'm all sweaty, shaking and stuff. I don't remember any of them, but I mean, it's all part of the parcel. You know, like if I imagine ambulance, you know, workers like paramedics and fire and police, you know, they see this shit almost every day.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
This is the Brown Park Podcast. Now, a word from our sponsors. This is the Brown Park Podcast with Christo and Dion.
Now, your son.
Yes, so...
which is the reason why you're here for Bruised But Never Broken.
Yeah.
Tell us the story of your boy. If you can.
Yeah, of course, man, of course. So my son's 19, and he's recently been in a really bad car accident. So in August, he was in a really bad car accident. At the time, he was only 18, and he's just driving to work on his way to work. I actually watched him that morning. It's the weird thing about parents' intuition. And like, I know you've got kids. I don't know if you do.
I got 3.
Yeah, so there's like a thing. People have like a parent's intuition, man. I was in Townsville visiting my little brother who's in the military, and he was about to deploy overseas. So I went up there to spend, a couple of days with him before he left. And I had a weird feeling in the morning. And I was like, I'm just going to check my security cameras. And I watched my son leave the house to go to work.
Yeah.
It was at like 5 in the morning or something. Anyway, so I just didn't think anything of that. It's fine. And I got up and I was kicking around just early in the morning on one of those little electric scooter things, getting a coffee, wait for my brother. And I get a phone call from his boss and text message, saying, hey, is Kyle going to come to work today? So what do you mean? Yeah, he is. So I watched him leave this morning. When was he meant to be there? He's like, like 40 minutes ago. He goes, it's fine, bro. Don't worry. He's probably just running late. I was like, nah, man. Something fucking...
Yeah.
I watched him leave. So I pretty much called every police station that I could that within that area of where he was. He was heading out towards the back of Brisbane. He went out through Canungra.
Mm-hmm.
No cop shop was open. Tried hospitals, nothing. And then I got onto Police Link and gave him his rego, and they're like, yeah, that car has been in an accident this morning. Shit. And I was like, fuck. And then my girlfriend sends me a little news clip. So there was no photos or anything. It wasn't a full story. It was basically just being like, boom, they just wanted to be first, with the story. And it said on there, there's been a head-on car accident out towards Canungra with one man fighting for his life, being cut out of a car. And I just knew straight. I'm like, that's him.
And you were in Townsville at the time?
Yeah, man.
Away?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Shit.
So once I knew that he has crashed, then I just called all the hospitals, just on repeat, until I got somebody that goes, we do have an ambulance coming here from that way. Obviously, they couldn't tell me anything, so I just booked the first flight and went home.
How long did it take you to get back home?
Probably about... I had to wait in the airport probably for about 3 hours.
Yeah.
That was
How do you go through that? Just because, at that moment, you would just want to be there.
Now, I guess you got to just sit down. And so one thing that I definitely know the Army has taught me, and that is to remain calm in a high stress situation. And obviously, being my son, that was my kid's everything to me. Like that was difficult. Just sitting there trying not to look like a fucking mess, crying in the waiting thing, and just like all these scenarios, running through. And because of my military stuff, I guess my forward planning, I already started writing a list. Like, I'm going to have to get a van. I reckon he's, because I've got a touch on some of the injuries and that. I'm like, fuck, he's going to be in a wheelchair. I have to do this. Like, I was already starting to just trying to think of those. And I don't know if that was just a method to try and distract me from the negative thoughts, because, and there's nobody I could talk to get information. There's just nothing. It was really rough, man. That was fucking hard. Sitting on that plane, it was really hard.
Yeah.
What were the extent of his injuries, or what are they?
Okay, so he was driving a Holden Barina, and he crashed into a van. He was doing about 60 to 70 Ks, and they went straight fucking head on.
How'd it happen?
So he was coming around a bend that was a slight left-hand bend, and it was kind of up and down a hill. Yeah. And as he was coming up, the road was a little wet. Motherfucker, kids don't listen to their parents. Yeah. On to his ass all the time about his tyres. Tyres are going board, mate. Change your fucking tyres. Nah, it's too expensive.
Yeah.
Boom, slides across the road.
Oh, no.
Smashed straight into the van. Yeah. So the engine was in the car. And he actually come out of it pretty good, man, considering they thought they had forensic cops out there doing an investigation because they were pretty certain he was going to die. He considered, it's a little small Barina, man. It's
only a small car.
Fuck.
Yeah.
And so he's got a pretty serious brain injury. It's called DAI, so a diffuse axonal injury. It's basically the same thing as what happens when people shake a baby and the baby dies. Mm-hmm. It moves your white and grey brain matter, stretches your axons and stuff and shears them, cuts them essentially, which then you're open to a myriad of different things. From there you could, because that's where all the messages come. So then it's basically just a wait and see how that affects you. So he had both frontal lobes damaged, temporal lobe on the left, bleeding in the rear, and subdermal hematoma and bleeding into his brain horn, like where your brain fluid goes. He snapped his humerus in half His femur snapped and come out of his leg. He shattered his patella, and his right wrist, pretty much turned it to dust.
Yeah.
Far out.
Yeah, man, pretty hectic. He did about 13 hours of surgery.
Yep.
And was in a coma for nearly 2 weeks.
I mean, I was following along the whole journey on the Bruised But Never Broken Insta page.
Yep.
And watching you through that turmoil, I just couldn't believe your strength through it all.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
And yeah, as a parent, I just don't know how, if I would be emotionally be able to handle it. So you're in hospital, you're working through it. When does he wake up?
So when they take the anaesthetic off, they say a kid his age should have woken up in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was, and then the process to wake him up, because he didn't wake up. They gave him plenty of time and he didn't wake up. So it took close to 2 weeks, and then he finally gave us a little bit, like actually opened his eyes and kind of looked around, and then pretty much we'll shut him straight back down again, because as you can imagine, the lights and stuff was a lot. And then just over the next coming days, it was just a slow process to get him awake and keep him awake.
What about his
the brain injury?
Yeah.
So the general rule for those is they say 2 years.
Yep.
Once where you're at in 2 years is kind of where you're gonna stay. Pretty much. He's fucking doing really well, and so for the type of injuries that he's got, guys are normally buckled up in a wheelchair, being fed for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
He's got some memory issues. And he's definitely a different person. Yeah. He really is. He's the same, but very fucking different.
Yeah.
Even things like his sense of humor and things like that, it's just
changed.
Yeah. But, I'm just real grateful. I'm really grateful, man, because it could be so much worse.
Can he communicate?
Yeah.
Talks the whole
100%, yeah. No, he's sweet. Wow. Like, if you didn't know him before, you would just think he's a little slow. But you wouldn't think he's been through what he's been through.
Amazing. You've taken this whole, I guess, negative situation, and you're turning it now into a positive with Bruised But Never Broken. Tell us what you're doing with that now.
Well, for the same reasons of like what you said, people liked. I think people got a lot out of watching this recovery, which was really surprising to me.
100%.
Because it all started just to let people know what's happening. Because obviously I was getting hammered with messages from people.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, I can't handle this. Like, if I'm not in the ICU, I don't want to be out here on my phone.
Yeah.
I just need to relax. So I just thought it was really hard. So I just did a video updates to try and let people know. And then just like what you just said, Dion, a lot of people felt like that, were messaging me. And then I was really shocked about how much it's actually helping other people through shit. I'm getting messages from people whose like husband had killed himself not long ago, and they're like watching you. And this is like given me so much, and just the slogan alone, Bruised But Never Broken. So I just kind of kept going with it, and then it was all mainly just for Kyle, but because it's helping so many people, I want to turn it into something where I can give it back. So give my experiences and the things that I've learned and how I deal with things, and I want to show people how to do it, and more so to be preventative instead of reactive. There's a lot of things out there that trying to help people after they've just tried to kill themselves or after they've had an alcohol problem. I want to try and get there and teach people ways to stop it before it happens.
Yeah.
Well, as you say, prevention's better than a cure.
Oh, man, 100%.
Yeah.
So you're mentoring people now as well, aren't you?
I do, yeah. I mentor troubled kids through a company that I work for called Veteran Mentors. So we run camps for kids who are either really struggling with behaviour, emotional problems. Some of them are court-ordered, a whole different range of reasons, but generally they're trouble. And us as veterans have a lot of tools in our bank to instill discipline, respect, all that sort of stuff. And so we take them and run those camps, which is like an intensive boot camp for them for 9 days. And now we're also doing one-on-one mentoring. So I'll go and get a child and kind of hang out with him for a few hours and just kind of talk to him about kind of goals and help them set their goals and deal with life problems, because a lot of them come from pretty hard backgrounds.
Yeah.
So we just kind of help them out with that way. And it's really cool, man. That sort of job's kind of saved me.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. Because I think when you're feeling shit, if you can help others, that will always kind of fill your cup back up.
But what was the turning point for you then? What when did you go, okay, I'm a nightmare, I need to go and do something with my life? Was that the army?
It was. Yeah, it was. I was pretty much I had my son when I was 18.
Yep.
And I was just pretty much living week to week, blowing all my money. Just had no structure whatsoever in my life, like just out fighting all the time, just being an absolute fucking knob. And then when my son started school, because I didn't have a very present dad, and I've always wanted to be a father to my kids and be the dad that I never had. Like I just always wanted to do that since I was young. And when he was starting school, I realised that, man, I don't even know if I can afford to put him through school because of, I never took my work seriously. I never saved money. I pretty much just took a whim, man, and just joined. I didn't even tell anyone.
Yeah.
I just signed up and left.
Yeah.
And then I stayed in there for 10 years. And it was definitely it saved my life, man. It really did.
Yeah.
And turned it around at least to give me a better quality of one. But, yeah, so it definitely was something that I needed to do.
So it saved your life. How many lives have you saved as a result of what you've done?
Well, I don't know. Who knows?
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, man. It's been something that if I didn't have that, if I didn't do that, make that decision there, I can almost swear on my kid's life I'd probably be in jail, if not dead. Because then even after the military, man, I even went off and joined a bikie gang. I was in a 1% motorcycle club for a while after the military when I left there and started doing all my depression stuff and drinking and doing drugs, and went down that wrong road again and had to find another turning point and sort my shit out.
I would imagine with the 1%ers, it would have given you that sense of family. Is that what it was about?
Yeah, hanging out with the boys,
Yeah.
getting up to no good. Because I was in a shitty frame of mind, and it was just running to vices, man, and just running to, like, and it got to a point. Literally, I had the cops coming around to my house, and the Maxima guys just come around that kind of hassle me, and not for any reason, like not because I had drugs at home or anything like that. They just literally come just to let you know, we know where you live, we know who you are, and my kids will be there and see this shit.
Yeah.
And my oldest son kind of thought it was cool, and that's when I was like, what the fuck have I done?
Yeah.
And then I did one of those mentor camps for the veteran mentors, and I remembered who I used to be, and everything that I was being at that point was me running away.
Right.
So
how do you tell them I'm leaving?
Yeah, man. So that was.
Or do we not want to discuss that on the podcast?
Definitely.
I think we leave that one.
Yeah.
And lie.
Yeah, I think most people listening know it's not that easy, but it's also I still got a lot of respect for the 1% boys. There's some really good dudes out there, and for some people it works out really well. For me, that was just not going to be the right thing for me to do. I've got other things to do, man. I've got to set a good example for my kids, and it's something that I've always done. And then I fucked up for a bit, and that's all right because I didn't stay there. I realised that I caught it. And I went through what I had to go through to turn my shit around to stop fucking getting hammered on bloody coke and booze and all that sort of shit every day.
But I think that's what's going to make you relatable to you've lived all this shit. So when you're talking to these younger children now, you've been there, done that, and you can talk them through that. Doesn't work out well.
No,
it
doesn't.
The path you're on,
and it's not glamorous like they think it is.
Yeah.
And there's something that I've, especially in the last year and a half that I've learned, is that the strength is in the struggle, man. Whenever you, like I said, things happen for you, not to you. And I think that by even putting myself in this shit, it's almost like I've done it on purpose because I needed to grow past it. Like I even fucked a whole trip in New York up with my missus that I took her on, 20 grand, man, and I was running around, beat up some dude in New Orleans for ripping me off on coke. And then I got shot at by these fucking gangster dudes who, well, obviously his friends, left my missus to chase this guy down at about 10 o'clock at night, didn't come back till about 6 in the morning covered in blood, dirt and mud, and she's just in hysterics in her bed. When I was always just running to shit that was going to be hard. I got told to stay out of Central Park at night time, so I spent an entire night there just walking around there by myself to find shit.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why. Even I look back on it now and I just put my missus through fucking hell. For a holiday that cost me 20 grand.
It was a shit time.
Man, it was. But it's all these things I think need to happen.
Yeah.
They need to happen.
Life is a movie.
Yeah, man. been a massive fucking idiot, man. I really have, man. I've been such a dickhead. I've done so much dumbass shit. But I think it's all for a reason, because now I know that my purpose, man, I always found my purpose to be the military. I was always like, fuck, man, I feel like I've been made to do this. Like, I just loved it and I was good at it. Whereas now I just want to help other people get out of the shit that I've been in and feeling the way that I've felt. Because I'm sure you guys understand how it feels to be at that bottom, man, where you're literally sitting there thinking, I think it's better if I just fucking end this shit. Yeah. And that is such a fucking horrible feeling.
It's fucking horrible. I mean, and everyone has their own experiences. I know I've been there. Christo's been there. But everyone has their own journey. But to come out the other side and do what you're doing now is so commendable, and you really need to, as you do, look back and go, fuck, I've come so far and I've got so much more to offer now.
Oh, man. And whenever anything ever happens, I use perspective as a huge tool for me. Nothing ever bothers me, man. Like, I'm an aggressive guy, man. I will still get fucking angry at everyone driving around, but I just check myself. Fucking at me, dickhead. But, like, if anything goes wrong, I'm just like, oh, fuck, man.
Yeah.
I've been through way worse, man. This could be so much worse, you know, like, I just try and be grateful for everything that I have, like especially just having nearly losing my son. Now, just when I look at him, I feel different.
Yeah. Bruised But Never Broken. Website?
There is a website, which is just www.bruisedbutneverbroken.com.au. Instagram is bb_never_broken.
Yep. Bruised But Never Broken. Nick Owen. I want to call you sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Thank
brother.
you, man. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
The Brown Podcast.
Why are you happy?
Because I don't want to be sad.